Member for York West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'm pleased to start off this Monday morning having an opportunity to speak in the House. So thank you for the chance to speak on this important motion. I'd also like to commend the efforts of my honourable colleague for Drummond, not only for putting forward a motion on what we deem to be a critical issue, but also for seeking a bipartisan consensus that federal programs should be in place to encourage energy efficiency in Canada. If only the government were as open to cooperation when it comes to defending and promoting the interests of Canadian people, I think we would all be much farther ahead. And this is one of those issues where it would be great if everybody would just agree that more of the energy retrofit programs need to be happening. But of course, as previous debates in this motion has reminded this House and our previous speaker, no energy efficiency program has existed in Canada since the Conservatives caused the lapse of the Eco Energy Home Retrofit Program in 2012. Evidently, I can no longer hope to find common cause on this issue with the governing party, but I hope that the member from Drummond takes some solace from the fact that the Liberals are strong defenders of the environment, especially initiatives such as this one, that aim to reduce our carbon footprint. Now, it's critical that we do all we can as individuals and as parliamentarians to encourage the pursuit of energy efficiency, and there are many reasons to do this. From a global perspective, improvements to the efficiency of our infrastructure are a key part of the struggle to avoid severe climate change. Individually speaking, we know that retrofits to buildings and homes can lead to substantial savings for families. Upgrades to things like heating, cooling and ventilation systems, air sealing, the insulation of attics and windows, and low-flow toilets can allow families to save valuable dollars. But these are not glamorous changes, but they are cost-effective ways of achieving significant progress on our energy use profiles, which are simply far too high. Anyone who is familiar with the data on this subject knows that Canada's rankings in international comparisons of energy intensity are consistently dismal. We are always at or near the very bottom of the list. In other words, we use more than almost anyone else. Yes, our climate is colder, and yes, our economy depends partly on our energy exports. But this is no argument for remaining complacent, or more simply, for doing nothing. The World Bank, the OECD, the International Energy Agency, foreign governments, as well as many domestic NGOs, have reminded us time and time again that we could be doing so much more to reduce our energy consumption. In the last OECD Environmental Performance Review, Canada placed dead last out of 17 industrial countries measured. 17th. Just imagine what that means. What does that showcase to the world? We have the means to do better, but we need the will, the political will, to make that happen. The government may have its head in the sand, but we need to start listening to what science is telling us every single day. And this weekend, around the world, was a clear message about people are very concerned about climate change, and we need to be doing our part. As a nation blessed with vast stores of natural resource, it only makes sense that we should be world leaders in the efficient use of our wealth, not number 17 out of 17. Right on. A failure in this regard is a failure to recognize the value of what we have, and it is a betrayal to future generations who may never derive the benefit from these important resources, as we gobble them up for immediate gratification. There is a grim irony to the fact that we are as wasteful as we are simply because we have too much. Incidentally, Mr. Speaker, the characterization I have just made about Canada's energy use applies equally to its water consumption. As a country, we take our water far too for granted. We have one of the largest supplies of fresh water in the world, but does this justify the fact that we, along with the Americans, have by far the highest daily domestic withdrawals per capita in the world? On a generous estimate, Canadians still use upwards of 300 litres per day each. This is 9 times higher than Denmark, Europe's best performer, and double the average of other developed nations, which goes back to feeding the same issue. We have a lot, of great resources, we're not using them wisely, and clearly we're wasting them immensely. But I mention these statistics not to scold, because it is clear that Canada has much to do when it comes to resource efficiency and conservation. The Prime Minister has declared his intention that Canada in the 21st century should be a global energy superpower. But to this end, he has focused his government's efforts almost exclusively on promoting supply. In other words, on pipelines and market access. But as any good economist knows, supply is only half the equation. Prime Minister cannot hope to achieve this superpower label and his ambition without considering the demand side of this and how better to manage the demand. Domestically, that is precisely what an energy efficiency initiative is. So an incentive program such as the one proposed would be a small step in the right direction. It would signal renewed commitment to international leadership in the fight against climate change and would help improve Canada's credibility as an energy power. Promoting energy efficiency would also signal a commitment by governments to helping the many startups and investors who form part of the growing green industry sector. These include developers, builders, energy auditors, construction and engineering firms, renewable energy companies, and many others who are devoted to the vision of a cleaner, more sustainable economy. But at the same time, a program such as that proposed by Motion 497 would signal again to Canadians that the government stands behind individual efforts to build a next-generation economy. Canadians are already doing what they can to make improvements to their homes, improvements that will bring down costs both to households and to the environment. But the federal government has the ability to show leadership and help offset some of those upfront expense of these upgrades and retrofits, which can still be prohibitively priced for many Canadians. This week saw the release of the inaugural report from the Global Commission on the Economy and Climate. The Commission is headed up by a group of people from around the globe. Felipe Calderon, the former president of Mexico, is the chair, and other members include the chairman of the Bank of America, the executive director of International Energy Agency, the CEO of China International Capital, and the president of the Asian Development Bank, and the list continues to go on. But, Mr. Speaker, the basic conclusion of their report, called The New Climate Economy, is that the supposed choice between a healthy climate and a healthy economy is a false one. With intelligent policy, I believe we can have both. Of course, I understand why the need for intelligent policy will vex this particular Prime Minister and his front bench. So let me frame it another way. How can anyone suggest that we continue to consume the finite resources of our planet with an infinite appetite? As we face the global threat of climate change, perhaps the defining challenge of our time, energy efficiency must be recognized as part of our national policy toolkit. To quote the Commission, policies to promote energy efficiency can free up resources for more productive uses and, if designed well, can be particularly beneficial to people on low incomes. Greater investment in energy efficiency in businesses, buildings, and transport has huge potential to cut and to manage the demand. Furthermore, the evidence shows that investment in low-carbon energy sources and energy efficiency is a major source of job creation. So, for example, the International Renewable Energy Agency estimates that almost 6 million people were directly employed in the renewable energy sector in 2012. Now, this is approaching the number of people employed in the coal industry, as an example. So as developed countries have adopted low-carbon measures, there has been a little noticed but remarkable growth in employment in a wide range of business in the low-carbon sector. So as the transition to a lower-carbon economy accelerates, this pattern of job creation and business expansion will be replicated. Mr. Speaker, Canada must embrace new opportunities that promote the shift to a sustainable future, and with promoting this particular motion, we are moving that along. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Reprise du débat.
Resuming debate.